As you walk through the valley of the shadow of hell, you will realize that there is something ahead. Something that lurks behind the dark veil. A veil that is beyond our own comprehension. Beyond the void.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void
Horror Podcast.
That's right. We got a friend here in this studio. It's Jason Smith from In the Mic of Madness, as well as one of the people who run the Killer Flicks group on Facebook. So if you guys haven't already followed any of that, there'll be links down below. Welcome, man.
Thank you.
By the way, guys, this is episode 116. We are going to be talking about today Terrified, and also going to be talking about Errementari as our two movies for this flesh and potatoes this week. So definitely stick around for that.
Yeah, no, I actually started with Sinister Cinema Reviews. That's my YouTube channel.
That's right. I should have mentioned.
Oh, that's fine. I'll plug myself, man. No, yeah, so I started that channel about a year and a half ago. It's one of these things where I just talk a lot, and it's kind of like a podcast, and that's what people talk about, but it's like me by myself. And then I met a bunch of people on Killer Flick, and it was just like, you know, Brad Thornton, who was on your show.
Right. For the Howling 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I listened to it. And we met up at my Monster Party, you and me, with Brad Thornton. That was the first time I'd ever met him. And then Rebecca Reinhardt, my co-host as well. She was somebody I met in there. And we just, I don't know, one night we were just like, you know what, dude, I talk about horror every fucking 5 seconds. I need something in a longer frame because my videos run way too, like 45 minutes.
But you know what? That we're long-winded individuals. We're passionate about it. That's why we do it.
Yes.
That's why I came to podcasts anyway.
Yeah. Well, I like the unedited format.
Right.
That's how I do my videos. Everything's one take. Everything's just go. Everything's just speak your fucking mind. And to not have anyone to bounce back and forth off of, it got lonely because I do things in my garage. And it's just like, when you watch it, it seems like I'm talking to somebody because I'm talking to you. But in reality, I'm sitting there and I'm talking to shit in my garage.
Right. But you know what? That's the hardest part for most people to do anything on their own. They have a hard time having a conversation doing that. So
nah, I don't have any problem with
that. If you haven't seen his videos, I will also include obviously a link to that there.
Yeah.
So
please check it out.
So now I want to ask you is like, how did you get involved with the Killer Flicks group, by the way?
I started the YouTube channel, and about a couple months into it, had started gaining some little following, and a guy named Dylan Clancy came and was just like, hey, I really like your videos. You should come over, check out the thing. And I was like, okay, I'll check it out. I don't really like big horror groups.
Right.
Because there's a lot of fucking assholes in there who think they actually know stuff about horror. And it's like, dude, you watch mainstream stuff. And I'm not against mainstream at all.
Sure.
It's just like, don't claim to be these fucking experts when you don't know shit about it. And you want to hate on everything. And it's just like, anytime anyone has an opinion, if it doesn't meet what you think is, the end all be all, it just turns into this shit show. And so I have a very private group that I've had for a very long time.
Right.
Because I had a huge falling out in this other group I was in. And I used to be a mod in there. And I had to eventually, because they were making claims that were so beyond my comprehension, like in arguments and like going at me. And when I left, they actually had a 500 comment thread of just ripping me apart.
Oh my God.
No, it was insane. It was just like a few people who hated me.
That's terrible though. Yeah.
And I ran the group, like everyone loved me. And then these guys kind of ran me out of there because I was like, yeah, fuck these dudes. And I took about like 30, 40 people with me and started my own little thing. It's like, fuck you guys. Yeah. I'm going to go start my own group. And I did. And that became Sinister Cinema.
Okay.
And then I was like, I said this shit so much. I was like, yeah, I'm going to just try my hand at YouTube. Fuck it. I have a phone nowadays, so easy. I do everything from my phone.
I was wondering. I used to do that too. So
everything.
That's all you need.
Yeah, just need your cell phone.
Just the determination and the inspiration to do it.
Yeah, and a fucking mouth that never stops. I think more than anything, if you want to start a YouTube channel, is you can't give a fuck what anybody thinks.
Right.
Like, it's not that I don't like my people and that I don't care what they think. It's if they don't like you or... Because I feel like there's this almost a frat initiation at first of people who just blast you.
Right.
To see if you're, like, worth it. Like, to see if you can get through that first, like, 6 months where mostly what you encounter is people being like, are you fucking retarded? Or, my favorite comment, I don't know why this one's always stuck with me, but it was like, you look like a cancer patient with a shitty beard.
Oh my God. I got fish boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
The fish baby boy or some shit like that.
We all get some interesting shit, man. But I don't give a fuck, dude. I know I have an opinion that doesn't match a lot of others. I don't give a shit what people think.
Right.
You know what I mean? I will do it on here. You guys are going to hear tons of shit that I'm going to say. You're going to be like, what? That movie's terrible. And I'm going to be like, no way, man. That's what my channel's all about. Defending films that people hate.
Well, I think it's important that if you just like what you like and you express it as what you like, it's not like you don't have to tell people, in my personal opinion, you don't have to be like, you're wrong.
Yeah, no, absolutely
yeah,
not.
and like,
Never.
I think when people do that, it's more about an ego than it is actually the movie.
100%.
Yeah, so, but yeah, no, I don't see anything wrong with that. Now, you guys are doing a podcast in the Mic of Madness with Brad and I forget her name, sorry. Rebecca. Mm-hmm. And you guys, how many episodes you got? Like 5?
We've got like, I don't know, 8 or something because we do a special for all the big releases. So we did like Suspiria, we did Halloween, and we did one for its own because it's arguably the shittiest movie I've ever watched. And let me tell you, when I say that, I don't mean that lightly because I watch garbage. I watch the shit no one watches on Amazon Prime or the Redbox movies that everyone's like, who the fuck rents that? I do. And I'm telling you, man, Death House might be the worst movie I've ever watched.
Oh, I knew it going in before I even saw it, and I haven't even seen it yet.
Oh my God, dude. We had to have our own special because I was like, no, I got to talk about
this. I
this.
saw that one and I was really tempted, but I was like, I got to watch it first just because I need to.
Please don't. Please don't watch it. I implore everyone out there, if you have anybody like that's pre-ordered the Blu-ray or wants to rent it, or don't give them any money. I'm serious. Don't give them any money. They don't
what I think
it
is? I think so many people are hung up on the people who are in it. And I think what people forget is that just because there's good actors or people who are icons in horror doesn't mean that a movie's going to land well.
No.
In any facet.
It was supposed to be the Expendables of horror, and that was what it was labeled as. And I'm telling you, you can take my word for it as someone who watches nonsense. I'm not this guy who's spiteful and is like, no, don't give them their money. Or I'm not that guy. I'm serious. They don't deserve $1.
Wow.
This
is
that bad? That bad. This is one of those movies where like no one tried. Nothing is worth a second of your time. It's literally horrendous on every aspect. There's not one good thing I can tell you about the film.
So all of our fans that are fans of the movie are now leaving. But
no one's a fan of this movie.
Yeah.
No one left because that person doesn't exist. You just made up a fictional person.
Yeah. There's got to be one out there that's like, lighting the torch for the way, like, hey guys, I'm over here. And they're like, nah, I'm doing stuff.
And if you like this movie, that's fantastic. Trust me, I don't want anyone to have wasted their time. I've always found it to be very vindictive when someone wants you to hate a movie you like.
Right.
It's like, why would you have wanted me to have not had a good time when I watched something? Shouldn't you have wished that I loved every movie I've ever watched in my life?
Right, yeah.
So it's very weird to me. So if you love Death House, fantastic. I'm glad that you had fun and that it worked for you. It would be nice to know someone did, but I just genuinely can't see what anyone would enjoy about it. And I'm somebody who, as I said, I watch all sorts of garbage and I will never knock anything. Usually I'll be like, it just wasn't for me. It wasn't the right person for it. This is shit. This is a 0.
What would
I don't
you give it?
zeros out.
Out of a 5 or 10, whatever.
0.
Really?
Oh,
that
0.
bad?
No, it's if there was lower, I'd go.
I would probably just give it a 1. That's the lowest I go. I've never given a 0.
Me too.
Yeah.
I only go 1.
Yeah.
And it's a 0.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I have to go lower. than is available.
That's horrible. Now I got to watch it just on the...
I know, and that's what I said in my review. I was like, I don't want you guys to think of this as a glowing endorsement, like it's a Troll 2 or a Room or something.
Yeah, The Room,
There's no enjoyability to come from it. It's not going to be this thing that's in a theater in midnight releases and people are like throwing spoons at the screen or something. It's not going to be like that. People are just going to watch this and go, fuck my life. I wish I would have done anything else. Anything. Stick hawk pokers into my dick. Whatever. It would just be better.
I think it was Howling 4 that was that for me.
Oh my God,
I wanted to punch myself in the face. The only redeeming thing was that melty man that they paid top dollar for the guy who did the special effects. That was it.
Yeah.
The rest of the movie was like the worst movie I've ever seen.
It's so boring is the problem.
I couldn't get through it. I was just wanted to punch myself every 5 minutes.
It just, nothing happens. Yeah. It's just like a chick in a house.
It's a romance novel, dude. That's what it is. It's a romance novel.
Not like even a decent one.
No, you could find quality in a romance novel.
Right.
This is not one of them, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
And
awful.
there may have been better acting in this than that one, too, than Death House.
I would watch The Howling 4 3 times in a row before I watch Death House.
That's a glowing review right there.
Oh my God, dude. Death House is horrible.
They're going to put that on the Blu-ray of Howling 4. Right? Jason Smith says...
Right. Anyway, let's go on.
I think it might be that time...
Horse shots!
All right, guys. So today we're going to be doing a shot dedicated to the movie Terrified. And without spoiling too much, there is a scene with a dead kid in it. I'll just say that. Who is sitting upright at a table and knocks over a glass of milk. Today's shot is going to be called Dead Kid's Milk. And what's in a dead kid's milk? Well, it actually sounds pretty good to me. It's a 1/2 ounce of rum chata, 1/2 ounce of 99 bananas, and a splash of vanilla creamer on top. Now, I can't confirm if this is going to curdle like a motherfucker, so you might want to drink it really fast, because unless you love drinking cottage cheese, it might not be a real good thing. But before you take this shot, guys, you're going to want to turn off the lights and try not to spill your fucking drink, you fucking dildo.
You fucking dildo.
You fucking dildo. But yeah, guys, I'll tell you what, if one of you takes one of these shots, I will send a care package out to you, but you have to do a video of you actually putting the shot together and actually taking it in one video. We'll share it everywhere. So wear your best Sunday dress and, we'll put it up. But yeah, I'll send you out something worth $10 or $20 to wherever you are. I don't even care where you live. So just do it.
Yeah, it'll be worth vomiting into the toilet.
Drink. You have to drink for me because I'm actually cutting out alcohol altogether. So, but yeah, I would love to see that, guys. So if you guys would love to take this dead kid's milk shot, all you got to do is go to longlivethevoid.com and check out our hashtag horror shots now.
My 20-year-old self is sending you a video right now.
That's it for horror shots. All right, guys, so now we're going to go ahead and jump into our flesh and potatoes of Errementari as well as Terrified right now. Starting off with Errementari, so I'm going to be doing the movie that I did the research on this way, and we'll get Jason's thoughts on this after I kind of tell you a little bit about it. So to give you guys an idea, part of the reason we picked these two movies is because of Jason. Jason said, "Oh, have you seen the movie Terrified?" And I was like, "No, I haven't, but I've been wanting to see that because I remember watching the trailer and going, oh, I want to see that." And then I didn't even realize it was out on Shudder.
Yeah, I went in blind.
Yeah. Same. Well, kinda.
I didn't see a trailer.
I didn't remember anything about the trailer. I just remember liking it.
Sure. Which is good.
Yeah. So, but this one, the other movie that we picked was Errementari, because I felt like, if you guys knew who Alex De La Iglesia is, he's presenting this and produced it. Kind of like how Argento would have produced Lamberto Bava's Demons or something like that. This guy already has a track record of a ton of movies since back in like the 80s and did a lot of different fucking crazy films all the way up to today, but he's now producing movies as well, and that's Errementari.
Yeah. You want to know why I asked you to do this movie over the other one?
Why?
Because I had no idea how to pronounce that name. And I didn't want to have to say it.
You know, I think Errementari came out in 2017 in the film festival circuit. But it hasn't been released to the general public really other than the festivals than right recently, which Netflix picked up this movie. The story is, it's based off like an old folk legend, from like, some people say it could go back as far as 6,000 years, although they think that Errementari means blacksmith, by the way. And smith was not a word 6,000 years ago, or, you know, however many years ago that they think this is. So,
but the Earth's only 6,000 years old, man.
That's when we started the calendar, right? But yeah, it's called also The Blacksmith and the Devil. It's a retelling of an ancient fable about a blacksmith who finds himself battling the devil. And in this story, the blacksmith has captured a demon and lives a life hermit-like seclusion away from prying eyes of the townsfolk. All is going well until a desperate little girl, Usui, accidentally stumbles across the devil and unknowingly releases him.
Man, that was spoiler heavy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the story's out there, and I don't think it's too bad. Now, the director and writer is Paul Arquijo Alio. This is the first feature film that he's ever done. He's done quite a few shorts before this, and he wrote and directed as well, like Monsters Do Not Exist, El Bosque Negro, and quite a few others. Nothing that I recognize, but I'm sure they're really thick with atmosphere. It also has actors Candifo Yarango, who plays Patsy.
Oh, him.
Yeah. He's the blacksmith, basically.
Yeah.
He was in movies that you might not have heard of, called Pink Punch, Fragile, Mystical, Baztan, and a new movie on Netflix also called Skin of the Wolf that's out now, too. Plus a movie called 70 Big Ones. It also stars Uma Brakalia. She plays Usui. This is the only movie she's ever done, or anything. She's really young, so clearly that's why. It also stars Eneko Sargadoy, who plays Sartial, who is the demon. He was in a movie called When You No Longer Love Me, The Bastard's Fig Tree, The Night Watchman, and The Giant. This movie was shot on a €3 million budget in about 7 weeks, which he said was not a whole lot of money, you know, to basically shoot a fantasy film.
Yeah. So,
which this is a very horror fantasy styled movie with really dark elements in it. So, but what did you think of it? Drop some hot knowledge.
I didn't know much going into it. I went into it blind. The first person who brought it to my attention was my friend Travis Gillespie. He was like, oh, you know, he's always my foreign film go-to guy.
Right.
He knows all the shit coming out. So anytime anything, especially Asian, is coming out, I just kind of let him do that. And he'll be like, yeah, check this out, whatever. So I trust him. And he was excited for this one. And when I saw it was coming to Netflix, it's like, it's Netflix. Fuck it. I'm just going to press play. You know, I don't got to rent it. I don't got to think about it. And then he wasn't hot on it. So I was like, fuck. So I put it away for like, it's only been out maybe a month at best, maybe a few weeks. And then when I mentioned Terrifier, you said, how about Errementari? And I was like, oh, okay, I'll finally get to check this out. And so I threw it on. As I said, like, didn't look anything up at all.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, it's a horror flick and this and that. It's very, very kiddish, in my opinion.
Sure.
I was very surprised when I was watching it. I was like, is this for children? Like, there is stuff in it that is adult.
Yeah.
They say shit a couple times. Couple little things like subject matter and whatnot. But it's weird, man. It's this really weird blend of like super kiddish fantasy and some dark adult stuff. And, I don't know. I had a hard time getting into it because I couldn't find the tone for myself. I kept like expecting it to go darker, or I kept expecting it to go more adult. And then at other times I was like, all right, just going to continue down this kid path.
Right.
And we're in a kid's movie. And then it would kind of take another veer and I'd be like, oh, so this is kind of darker. And then I will say that the film looked great. Very visually stunning. I thought the cinematography in the film was excellent.
Art direction, stuff like
that was all very cool. I didn't like the lead.
Okay.
Very much. I think that he hurt the film. I think that if this film had a stronger lead here playing the blacksmith, that I would have dug the movie a lot more. I didn't gravitate towards him. I didn't really care about his character. I didn't really like him very much. So, you know, and I didn't see him as a badass at all.
Okay.
In the slightest. He never projected any kind of, intimidation or anything.
Evil that they kept saying.
That they were just like, oh my God, the devil himself is afraid of this guy.
Yeah.
That's literally what they say in the movie. And when I saw the guy, I'm like, it's just some fucking old dude. Like, is there a moment in this movie that you can remember where he even looks intimidating or scary or anything?
Yeah, he just wants a cup of milk, guys. Yeah. Just leave him alone.
Right. He just wants some dead cake milk.
God.
And I don't know, dude. That killed the film for me. Yeah. Like, a lot of it. It was just like, if they put in a really strong, like a Stephen Lang.
Okay.
Stephen Lang is a badass old dude. You know, You watch Don't Breathe, or you watch like Avatar, or you watch whatever. Like, Stephen Lang can bring that, like, I'm 60, but I'm ripped.
Okay.
And I can beat the shit out of you if need be. And you put Stephen Lang in a beard and give him a fucking huge hammer and have him go attack demons. I'd be like, hell yeah, fucking sign me up for this movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That would have worked. Or even a movie, Don't Kill It. I don't know if you saw Mike Mendez's Don't Kill It with Dolph Lundgren, which I love.
Don't kill it!
Yeah, it's great, man. Yeah. One of the best premises I've seen in a long time. A very inventive, original premise. But Dolph Lundgren's awesome in that. He's more funny. He's got a little bit more of a comedic element to it, but he's badass, and he's 60. You know what I mean? So it's not like because you have an old man, it's like, oh, well, Jason, he's an old guy. I mean, how intimidating can be? No, he can be. There can be dudes that bring an intimidating presence with them. Like, I have to believe this guy would make the devil question if he can beat him or not. And this is just nothing. That opening sequence, like when he's fighting the soldiers, and his powers seem to be all over the place in the movie.
Yeah,
like I was like, how the hell did townspeople take him down, but he took on a fucking like British army by himself? Do you know what I mean?
Well,
and it was only like a couple years.
I have thoughts on that, but I don't want to spoil it too much. Yeah,
but it's just he seemed to be all over the place. His relationship with the kid, I didn't buy it enough to believe that he would care to go after not caring for so long. Like, stuff like that. So a lot of these things in the movie, I guess it was just a very uneven film for me.
Okay.
Visually looked cool.
Okay.
And I couldn't take the character seriously, and I couldn't get the tone of this was adult or if it was fantasy. And I can usually do both together, but this one it was all over the place. For me, it was fine, but nothing I would watch again for sure.
Well, for me, it's a little different. Because I was very much like you when I started watching this movie. For one, I came from watching Terrified directly before it.
Oh my God.
Okay, which
far superior.
Wait till you hear our thoughts about this, guys. So you're gonna want to stick around. Trust me.
Yeah.
Errementari, I think, is better than I expected it to be the first half of the movie.
Okay.
It ended up better. I kind of expected a fable tale, which, it pretty much is. And of course, Alex De La Iglesia, who did the movie The Last Circus, was just one of my favorite movies by him that he's done. And I love that movie through and through. It had some pacing issues and shit, but it's the right kind of weird and dark.
Yeah.
And so I was like, instantly, I didn't realize that he didn't direct this. I don't like all of his movies, but it was enough for me to go, okay, I'll check this out. So that's why I got interested in it right away. I think it's fair to say if you enjoy his other directed films, though, you probably will like this one a little bit. To some degree, you may not love it, but I think it kind of falls in the same category as like his films, because it has a little bit of a weird thing about it. But like you said, I really do I thought the aesthetics, the way it looked, the way it was shot, everything was done in kind of like it's fable-esque. Mm-hmm. Like it's not like your normal pacing of a movie, but it also goes in some darker places than you would expect a kid to go.
Yeah.
So
it's a cool movie.
I think it's definitely a stark difference between Terrified for sure. So that was a really jarring factor for me going into this, because I was like off this like extreme high, and then I had to go into this other world that I just was not in the mood for.
You know what it kind of reminded me of? I know this is nowhere near as fantasy as this one, but for some reason, and I haven't seen this in a while, so I could be completely off on this, but is Rare Exports.
Okay. Yeah, I can kind of see that. It's got that dark tone, but the like
kind of kiddish.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like a teen, like a early teen to like adult film sort of. It's like something that the whole family could watch, but I wouldn't say it's like an 8-year-old could digest this kind of film in the same way as Rare Exports, but they got a lot of male genitalia in that, so you probably wouldn't want your kids seeing that anyway.
Plus, it doesn't have much of a payoff, in my opinion.
Oh, the Rare Exports?
No, this one.
Oh, yeah.
It had a very lackluster ending for what it was setting up.
I think what they did, though, is pretty interesting. I thought it got better as it went on, and I liked some of the complexity of, like, what demons are like, and, like, the hierarchy that they have there, and, like, what duties they have, and how this guy, like, got out of hell instead of having to go, and, like, the story. So it really... if you see this movie, you're going to be like not knowing where it's going. No. You kind of do generally, but I think it'll throw you off enough the trail, and then it just kind of keeps hopping around, doing all these different things. Like, does the girl like him? Does she like the demon? Does, it goes all over the place. So, it's not something I would watch every year or anything like that. But if, in 5 years, if I haven't thought about it in a while and someone goes, hey, you want to watch it? I wouldn't be like, fuck no.
No, not at all. It's unique enough that I think people should give it a chance.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it's really well directed. Like, for the guy who did it, I don't want to compare him to Guillermo del Toro or anything like that, but it seems like that style, because this is a movie based on the Basque language, and I think I'm saying that right, Bosque, which is a language that was forbidden up into the 80s in northern Spain that they used.
Okay.
It was forbidden. You could not use it. You cannot utter it because they wanted to kill the language.
Wow. It's
a mix between French and Spanish.
Okay.
So there's parts of France that have speaking of this language, as well as some of the Spanish. So, which I couldn't, like, I was like, is this a Spanish film? Because I thought it was at first. And then I was like, they're not speaking Spanish, though. I was like, what are they speaking? And I looked it up, and it's Basque.
Basque is a bounty hunter from Star Wars to me. So. I don't know.
But guys, if you like Fables, you like something a little bit darker with a little bit of a twisty kind of end, and you kind of want to see what demons do in a regular world, like,
and it seems to have a decent budget. I mean, it looks really good. Like,
he said
high production value.
3 million euros, and I think that guy made magic happen on 3 million euros. Technically,
so that's like 6 million US, right?
It's about that. Yeah, I would assume it's about double that. Yeah,
right. No, it looks fucking great. It looks great. It's a very unique concept. You haven't seen a film like it much. I absolutely think people should check it out if they seem like that's something that's interesting to them at all, because it's worth your time.
It's on Netflix.
It's you don't even have to pay for it unless you don't have Netflix. Don't get a Netflix just for this. I can point you towards tons of great shit on Netflix that you need to watch before this if you don't have Netflix. It's fucking crazy when people tell me they don't have Netflix.
Netflix does put out some good shows. I think this is a decent one to watch. It's not going to, if you have some extra time to sit around, watch it. Check it out. You might like it. You might not. So it's definitely, I would say it's definitely leaning towards fantasy more than horror, but
absolutely.
It's got some dark elements I think some people could appreciate. So, but now we're going to jump into some of the spoilers. So if you don't want anything spoiled, you probably want to skip this section. So there was some things that I did like in the beginning. But I was kind of like the beginning, the girl is kind of a badass. Mm-hmm. Like, she's an outcast kid because her mom killed herself by hanging herself. They don't really explain that until later on, obviously.
Right.
And so you feel bad for her, she's doing weird shit like fucking hanging out with snakes and fucking drinking the fucking communion wine.
Right.
Out in the middle of the forest for no reason. They don't really explain.
I was getting a lot of Halloween 4 vibes from the kids picking on her for dead parents.
Fair enough. Yeah. I can see that.
It's funny too, because they were like singing it as well. Like, Jamie's an orphan. Jamie's an orphan. I just kept fucking, her uncle's the boogeyman. who the fuck picks on a kid because their parents are dead? And like the shit they're saying to her is so mean spirited. This is why I'm like, this ain't no kids movie, because they're sitting there and they're like, you know, your mom's a whore and she hung herself and she's fucking in hell now burning and you're going to hell burn too. It's like, damn, man, that's hardcore
pretty
even for
up.
kids. That's at that age, like especially like in Halloween 4.
Yeah, they were like she's 8 to 12.
Yeah, she's like 8.
Yeah.
And these kids are like, you know, your fucking mommy's a mummy. And it's like, Jesus Christ, man.
And this is obviously takes place like way back. Like
1835 is
that what it was?
Starts, and then it's 8 years later.
So it makes sense.
1843.
You know, back then I would assume that they would kind of like push people out pretty easily.
Oh yeah, they were super religious.
Yeah, like I mean they like fucking thought if you had a headache, you had a demon inside of you. Yeah. So I mean, if your mom killed herself, then you might be some sort of evil spirit to them or something, I guess.
Shit, not even that long ago, we used to treat women for hysteria by fucking doctors fingering women.
Jesus.
That's how the vibrator got invented.
Oh my God. Because it was a more clinical?
Because doctors were actually, because girls were coming in, they were frustrated and they were like, they didn't know what to do. So they were labeling them in this way. And the doctors would manually masturbate the women to get them off to have an orgasm.
What the fuck?
And it would relieve them of their stress, their whatever, because when sex back then, men didn't really pleasure women. And so they were just like, they had all the house chores, they had all this, but they had no release. And so the doctors would jack them off, but the doctors were starting to get carpal tunnel.
Oh my God. And that's how the cream for your fucking arthritis was made.
And then they made a vibrator just so that they wouldn't hurt their wrists anymore.
Crazy,
and they would jack their clients off with the vibrator. Yeah, that was medicine back in the day. I wish I went to the doctor now and they jerked me off. I know it's ailing you.
They do milk people's prostates, I guess.
There'd be people lining up around the block to go to the doctor again. Be like, no, not that doctor. You got anyone with maybe like some C's or...
What about that guy with the flipper hands?
Yeah. How about... Yeah, right. You got the nurse over there. The flipper hands.
You know what I'm talking about?
It was just one flipper, baby.
Do you remember the fucking American Horror Story? Fucking the freak show episodes? Like where the guy was like fucking dildoing women with his flipper hands?
Yeah. Fucking...
Talk about carpal tunnel, huh?
Right?
So back to the kids movie.
Yeah, the kids movie.
Jesus Christ.
We're all over the place.
I like that she would bite back. She would fight.
Oh yeah.
And she would like, there was like this scene with the little girls and they were like fucking, just like, they wouldn't play with her. Like they entertained her for a little bit because they were curious. There's these 2 little girls in a cave where this water is. It's like, I guess where you like, I don't know, some sort of religious thing. There's crosses everywhere in this movie, by the way, because it's ultra religious times, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the girls are like picking on her and they're like, she's like, your doll's stupid or something like that because it's got no head because these kids picked on her.
Right.
Killed her snake.
Yeah.
And threw it over the wall of the blacksmith's fucking house gate or whatever. And, these girls are making fun of her because she's like, she's dead, just like your mom.
Right. So fucked up.
And I'm like, Jesus. And the girl splashes, like the Usui, I guess her name is. She splashes water on him and slaps the fucking girl in her face and then screams at him and they all go running.
She's just like, fuck you guys.
I love that, though.
It's great. Yeah, you know, actually another movie this reminds me of a lot now that I'm really sitting down here and thinking about it is Beauty and the Beast. It's like this girl that's down in the village who everyone thinks is odd and peculiar.
Okay.
And she's like, you know, going around and then she goes off into, you know, the faraway land and this beast takes her. And then all the town folks come with their fucking torches to burn it down after no one seemed to like her in the movie.
Right.
It's like, oh, all of a sudden you care about Belle.
Right.
Like, all of a sudden everyone wants to go. Yes, Gaston wants to be with her or whatever. But it's still like, it's one of these things where it's like, everyone in the town is picking on this girl throughout the thing. And then once they find out she's up there, they're like, well, we're going to go there and we're going to kick her ass. I know they're going there for gold too, but they try to make it seem like they're there for her. And it's, get the fuck out of here. You're like letting every kid beat the shit out of this kid like throughout the whole movie. And now all of a sudden you give a shit.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a good point. I mean, it is kind of similar. I mean, the overall moral of the story is don't judge a book by a cover, you know, or whatever, because even the girl's misunderstood. Even he's misunderstood because he's a supposed evil guy. And really, he was doing it for good reasons, even though he kind of hung a baby over the fire,
right.
which happens to be her.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
When the story comes out, you're like, okay, this is interesting, guy.
Yeah, like, I was like, Jesus Christ, you just see the shadow. You don't see the baby or anything.
This is a foreign movie.
Yeah.
That's how you can tell. It's something like that. Because if you watch, like, Asian movies, their leads are assholes. And I love it. I love that about, like, foreign films, is they don't have to have these, like, perfect people be their, you know, their main protagonists.
Yeah.
They have these very flawed characters. I've seen a few films recently like that, where the guy's, like, beating the fuck out of his wife and, like, raping hookers and shit, and he's, like, the lead that you're rooting for. You're like, Jesus. That would never fly in America.
But they do that in this. Yeah, that's kind of similar.
Yeah, this guy's a total piece of shit.
Yeah, but not in the sense that you would think. Like you said, oh, this guy's supposed to scare the devil.
No.
Like, he's not like
scary.
kicking babies every 5 seconds as like a fun pastime. He's not putting him on the fire just to smell the flesh.
Right.
He's like that's evil. Like, what he did was just a human being fucking out of control and fucked up. Like, you know, it is evil.
He goes into reclusion because of what he did.
Right.
More than anything, and this is his redemption story.
Did they even say what the fuck happened to his wife and why he decided to, like, he was, like, caught by some soldiers, right? There was a war, like a Bosque war of some sort, like some sort of, I forget what the war.
Well, he came home from the war.
Right.
And his wife had been knocked up by another person. And so she had a kid, which is the kid in the movie.
Yeah, but before that, before he goes back, he made a deal with the devil in order to get out of the situation he was in the war, I think, in the beginning, right? Because they show him fighting all these guys and the soldiers, and the devil, the demon, helps him out.
Okay.
In the shadow or something like that. And then he goes home and finds out that his wife was...
he kills the fucking
So he
dad.
was a POW, is that what it was?
Yeah.
He was a POW and he was going to be murdered.
Well, he came home from... Yeah, exactly. He sells his soul. But he comes back from the war and, you know, obviously she thought he'd died.
Right.
And so she got knocked up by someone else, and he can do the math. That kid ain't his. And so he comes in and he fucking kills the husband.
Yeah.
And then he is going to kill the baby, but doesn't. And then the wife kills herself.
He burns its face, though, by the way.
Yeah,
guys.
her face is like half burnt.
Which is pretty fucked up. I'm not trying to say the guy's like going to win any awards for humanitarian of the year.
No. So he's like kind of her pseudo stepfather who burned her in a fire when she was a kid in a rage, a jealous rage.
Right.
Yeah, this is our hero, people. That's who we're rooting for.
He's not the hero we wanted. He's the hero we needed.
Yeah, he's the hero we deserve. Because we're terrible people. Oh, God, dude, there's so many silly fucking things in this movie that was just like, okay, really? One of the things that stuck out, too, was like, how many people, especially the demon, how many times can you fall for the bear trap trick?
Yeah, that was a little too much. But
like, dude, again? He tried to run out of the house, got caught in a bear trap, then gets put back in the thing. Then he tries to run out of the house again and gets caught by another bear trap. It's like, look down. Fuck, dude. Didn't we just already do this? Was it like a demon tractor?
Right.
Like it had like a tractor beam on it for demons? He tried to leave it like ran across the lawn at you. That'd be great. Like a bear trap running.
Like a fucking Pac-Man.
Yeah, like Pac-Man. Oh, man.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past this movie almost.
Yeah, it would have bumped the whole movie up for me, for sure.
The demon that's supposed to go and pick this guy up, and then when he gets out a couple of times, he steps on that bear trap, but you find out later on that he's just a bumbling idiot in hell even. And his problem is that he's too good-natured in a way, I guess.
Yeah. He's demoted to fucking like housewares.
He's misunderstood in hell like the blacksmith is misunderstood on Earth.
Yeah.
Right? Even though you hang babies over the fire, so I don't know where I'm going with that.
Right. No, just, the demon has his own personality and his own desires, and he's like trying to make his way up the ranks.
Right.
Like he's trying to make like swing manager, but they like demote him to fucking like housewares. That's exactly what happens in the movie. They're like, you've been demoted. And he's like, where? And they're like, to like the 4th level of evil with like
janitorial.
And yeah, exactly. You want to keep your job here. You're going to be scrubbing toilets.
Yeah, they call it the 5th circle, I believe.
Circle?
Yeah,
I had it written down somewhere on here, and that he like has to deal with sadness and whatever.
Yeah, he's like, not the sad.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. It's like, dude, you're in hell. You're not supposed to like your time there.
The thing I liked about this movie in particular is how they kind of explain that part where they're talking about that hierarchy and the different levels. But I like that because it's just kind of interesting to see like our demons, we're before the humans got there. Or do humans turn into demons? Or like it kind of toys with that a little bit.
Yeah, because he turns human looking at the end,
right?
But I don't know if that's just a disguise or if that's what he was before or whatnot. One thing we haven't talked about yet, and I guess this is something glaring that sticks out to me is like. I never thought I'd see a movie where people defeat demons with chickpeas.
That was interesting.
Fucking weird, dude. I was like, wait, what? But like, okay, so he does it to the first demon first. And I was like, okay, that was silly. But then he does it to the main one at the end. And that's how he defeats him, essentially.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
Chickpeas? Really?
Hey, man, don't throw your chickpeas out, all right?
Just in case you're ever going to go hunt demons, make sure you bring some hummus with you. They can't be chopped up though. You have to be able to count. It has to be chickpeas, I guess. It's
funny because apparently they even use the practice in like exorcism and stuff. I'm looking it up right now because it says a look of Irish demon busters, and apparently they use chickpeas in that too. So that's like an old world fucking thing.
Sure.
With chickpeas. But
that's one of those things you drop.
I'd heard the bell thing.
Yeah.
Where they were using the bell, like, because it's like a specific sound that demons can't handle and they go crazy. And then the chickpea thing, I was completely baffled by.
I was like, okay.
I'm like, is this like a nod to saying that math is the devil?
Right.
Is it the language? I thought it was like math was the language of God, but then they have to count these chickpeas in order. And when you move them around, they get all freaked out and shit.
Yeah.
It's interesting, though.
I never seen it before. I always ask for fucking new things, and I got it.
Yeah, it's pretty old, though.
Right. No, I know, but I never seen it. I never heard of it before. I was like, what the fuck is going on? I did find it funny. The only moment that there was some bonding at all in this movie between them is when they're torturing the demon together and laughing. I was like, that's fucked up.
So I know, watching a kid torture a demon, and it's kind of like sick a little bit.
It was funny, though.
I felt bad for the demon.
I did, too. I was like, yeah, man, let up off him. But then I'm sitting there like, wait, don't they just torture people in hell all day, every day for millions of years? Well,
they want you to feel bad for them so that then he got him out of there.
Yeah.
That's why the girl got lured into it and then didn't. She was like, can you talk to my mom in hell?
Right.
And he's like, well, there's a lot of people in hell, but yeah, I'll fucking talk to her if you let me out.
Yeah, that's the message of this movie, man. No matter how bad you are, somebody might be able to get you out of hell. As long as they have chickpeas.
Did you notice that, like, nobody fucking let that girl down from the ledge? Like, they just pushed her into the fire with that shit. Like, yeah, your mom killed herself. She's in hell.
Yeah.
Like, fuck off, you dumb bitch. You know, like, what?
Right.
Like, nobody, not even the fucking preacher or whatever the hell he was. I don't know what denomination it was. I would assume Catholic, so priest.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even really let her off the ledge. He said, well, yeah, bad people go to hell. That's just the way it is. Like, no sugarcoating it. She's in hell.
Yeah, one thing I did like about this movie, though, is I like that the priest is really happy to see a demon and he wants him to come with him. So it's proof that what they're doing actually,
right.
It was like, oh, there you go. That's what I would do.
He was like, thank you, Lord. That was like the first thing he says. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean, thank you?
Yeah, it's like, thank you. Now I know what I'm fucking preaching about is real.
I didn't really believe it until now.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what I thought.
Anyone who has faith, you have to go on blind faith. And until you see a demon, until you see God open up the sky and talk, it's like, I'm not 100%. So seeing that, I like that that's brought up like, oh, fuck, yes. Like, I'm vindicated. I gave my whole life to this, and now I know it's real. I thought that was neat for them to actually bring that up. And he was like, no, you need to go with us so you can prove to everybody. And I want to be the guy who is the proof, who brings in like the argument once and for all that this shit
I
is
like
real.
that too. I like just the conversation about the whole fucking idea of it. So it is interesting to just put these demons out in the middle of the world, and they're not supposed to be seen. Like that's a bad thing in hell, by the way. If you show a human that you're a devil, then you've done something wrong.
there's rules, man.
Yeah.
There was a rule that we never got to find out about.
Yeah, this is like that behind the scenes look at the stuff you're not supposed to talk about in a movie or something.
Because I think that's essentially what a lot of like possession stuff is supposed to be.
Right.
It's like a demon doing what it's not supposed to be doing. You're not supposed to take someone over. You're not supposed to go into Reagan's body. You're not supposed to try to take people over.
Right.
You're supposed to stay down in hell and whatnot. And they're coming up here and they're doing something.
Father,
like
whatever his name is.
Yeah, Merrick.
Or Father?
In which one? This one?
Well, he's in the first one, the one that jumps out the window.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
In The Exorcist, I was saying. But yeah, that rule set is kind of interesting to kind of trivialize the whole rules of demons and take I mean, there's no scary shit in this whatsoever.
No.
So
no.
It's really kind of just like interesting to find out the fascination of all the like different inner workings. So
yeah, it says not supposed to expose itself or it interferes with the physical world. That I think is a good explanation of why it rarely happens.
Okay.
Because otherwise, if demons were able to possess people, then why aren't we seeing it all over the place all the time?
Right.
Like there should be people possessed like crazy all the time anytime they do these bad things. But if it's actually like you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
If that's like a no-no in the demon world, then it would explain why there's so few actual possessions out there in the world ever.
Yeah, and the way I always see it in like ghost shows and stuff like that, they always talk about it as though that, being alive is like them trying to get out of hell in a way or something.
Right. They're using you as a vessel.
Yeah.
To get themselves out of hell.
To exist in that plane of existence.
You have something they want.
Yeah.
Life.
This is totally not like that, but...
No, but it I like that it's addressing that he's not supposed to show himself.
Right.
And as I said, that kind of explains why this isn't happening all the time.
Yeah, and then when the little girl comes in and sneaks into the blacksmith's fucking house, his well-guarded 50 million crosses everywhere, spikes, bear traps, everything everywhere house, he presents himself as a little boy at first.
Yeah. Which
is to trick her into letting him out.
Well, you got to remember, man, back then, no one had Netflix. No one had anything to do. So you make like
they didn't even have TVs.
No, they didn't have anything else to do.
But they tell stories, and that's what these fables probably.
Yeah. This is Netflix back in the day. Fables. Yeah, no, it's funny to think about that. Like, it's like, oh, how the fuck, this guy has so much stuff. It's like, dude, he had nothing better to do. He's by himself, too. He doesn't even have friends. He doesn't leave the house. He's just making crosses.
Right.
That's all he does all day. He's a blacksmith.
Did you catch on to the dandy being a demon pretty quick?
No, I don't think there's any indication. Did you? I
kind of knew when he didn't want to go in the gate.
Oh, okay.
I was like, why wouldn't he want to go in the gate? Like, there's something up with that.
Okay.
Because he was like, no, I don't do any of that work. You guys do that. You go in and make sure it's safe. But then if he was scared of the crosses and it scared him, because you could tell they put the crosses on the outside of the gate. So I was like, are they trying to keep something out or in? It could be both. Well, that's what I kept thinking. I'm like, okay, so maybe the demon would come in or he's got it trapped. Because they talk about him being trapped. It could be a woman screaming in the middle of the night, but it could be a demon.
Right.
That was the story the townsfolk were telling. But then you find out there is a demon and it's keeping him in so he can't escape as well as coming in. So I don't know. I guess that's just a loose part of the story.
The dandy is like the wolf in Pulp Fiction, right? He's like the cleanup guy.
Yeah, kind of.
Well, if you send in the wolf, that's all you had to say.
But the dandy turns into a demon. I thought that was kind of cool. Like his face does some weird thing.
It's like look like a fish for a second.
Right.
First.
Because
a lot of them has like fish features when they get to hell. Like there's a lot of cool looking demons.
It totally reminds me of Spawn, though.
Okay. Yeah.
That's why when I think of
special
that,
effects.
yeah, the special effects and just the fact of them being in hell, because they go to hell if you guys are listening past this and you haven't seen it. But yeah, he turns into a full-fledged fucking like stand-up giant demon.
Huge.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's CGI, I think. So
it's cool. I dug it. And then they take the girl down into hell.
Yeah.
And he's got to go down there.
Well, she gives up her life. That's another complex thing that children probably wouldn't be able to handle, is that she gives up her soul, which is weird because I always...
see her mom.
Yeah, so she could see her mom. He's like, I'll take you to see your mom. And then he stabs her with the pitchfork and kills her. Yeah. And I was like, that's kind of dark.
Yeah, it's dark.
They didn't show her die, like getting stabbed.
No. A lot of stuff's done in shadow.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still cool. And then when they go down there, well, the blacksmith obviously wants to go down there to get her because she saved him.
Right.
By intervening, right?
I'm not sure how the hell, like, he got the bell to go with him.
That's what I was thinking, too. They put it on a cart, and then all of a sudden he's got it in a bag over his shoulder.
I like how, like, he's carrying it over his shoulder, and he could barely carry it. He's, like, heaving it, like, as hard as he can. And then when he sees the demon, like, he throws it to his side, and he just runs with it.
Right,
like,
yeah.
in one hand, I'm like, wait, wasn't it over your shoulder and, like, thousands of pounds? It's made of pure gold, and then when you see something, he just runs with it in one hand. I'm like, huh. That
there's no way that a man could carry a bell that heavy.
No, especially this guy. But he's, he scares the devil, man. He's tough. Yeah, but then, I don't know, it sets this whole thing up like, oh my God, he's going to go down and he's going to fight the devil in hell. And it's like, he throws chickpeas on the ground. The thing goes down. It's like a fucking scene from like a Jim Henson movie.
Right.
It feels like Labyrinth or something. He like goes down and he's like, 1, 2, 3. And then the fucking like goes right past the guy, right? I don't even think he kills the guy.
He uses the bell on him.
He uses the bell, but does he die?
They don't show anything. They just
they don't show it.
They show him tilting it back, and you see Alistair, the demon.
And then he hits the thing.
And then he hits it, and then you just see, like, that's it.
And then the door's open, then he walks through, and the movie's over.
Right.
And I was like, we don't get to see him go down there? Or we don't get to see, like, the reunion between the daughter and the thing? Like, none of that is explored at all?
I bet you if they had about 5 million more,
right,
we would have seen that. Right. But I think because they didn't have that budget.
And this is what we can afford.
Yeah.
Thank you, good night.
Which, I'll be honest, I thought it was kind of cool to see the different types of demons down there that were like letting all the humans in. And it was kind of like a comical, little Nicky feel to it, I
thought he was going to look for her more. And she just was like 5 people ahead of him in line.
Right.
And I was like, oh, there she is.
Yeah.
Because he's like, oh, we got to go down there. We got to look for her. We got to, wade through hell. And I'm like, oh, it's going to get awesome.
Yeah.
He's going to be like knocking fucking demons out. He's going to be like running through layers of hell. It's like they get there. Hey, where are you? And she's like, I'm right here. And it's like, okay. It's like, that's it? He just found her? She's right there?
Yeah.
What the fuck? She's just right there. She's just standing in front of him when they die.
She's like, just standing there, too, for no reason, just staring at the gate. And everybody else doesn't really seem like they're all losing their mind except for him and her.
Yeah.
That was a little confusing, too.
They're, I don't know. They got a fast pass.
Did you notice the demon character that had like a face on its butt?
Oh, I don't.
Or its stomach or something?
Yeah.
It was like a brief little snippet.
Yeah.
You see it smiling and it's all like, hey.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. That was really weird.
Yeah, the demons had a cool look to him. I also thought it was kind of funny the demon when he's exposed in the sunlight, he twinkles like in Twilight.
Really?
He was like
Did he?
covered in glitter.
Oh God!
No, he really
I'm
was.
a disco ball, bitch.
Yeah, it was pretty funny, dude. And then I like that the demon threatened the townspeople.
Yeah,
that
I'll
if they
eat your
mistreat
thumbs.
the girls, he's gonna come back and fuck them up.
I'll steal your thumbs in your sleep.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. Like he becomes. I actually liked the demon way more than the blacksmith.
The director actually said that the person who played him, the design work that they did on that demon in particular was perfect. He said that is the best thing about the film is Satrial.
Kind of reminded me a little bit of Legend.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was cool. Cool body cast and stuff there.
That's one thing I didn't like though, is that the movie didn't have any gore. Like I feel like if this movie would have had gore, it would have like raised it up like 2 notches.
Yeah, he should have had like a fucking blacksmith's hammer and he'd been crushing demons.
Right. That would have been badass.
That's what I was hoping for. And that's why I'm saying it's like it's between kids and it's kind of adult, and then it's not, and then it is, and then it's not. And it's just like we needed that thing to bring it up. Like there should have been like a bunch of whores down there, with their tits exposed, and then he's like smashing heads. Like this is hell, man. I want to see
people shitting on each other.
Yeah.
It's just hell, man.
You want to see an insane depiction of hell? Watch a German movie called The Burning Moon.
Oh yeah, I know. I think I know what you're talking about.
It's one of those like gross out films.
It was nudity and stuff in it too, right?
Oh, dude, it's fucking craziness.
Yeah,
it's just one of those splatter films that's just like trying, like an August Underground or
okay.
Like
they didn't show any nudity in this.
Nope. 0.
Yeah, so
zero.
if you're going to hell, there's going to be flip flaps everywhere. Yeah. Like whatever you got, front, top, back, whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's still kind of cool, but yeah, when you put it in the light of like, hey, they could have had this like awesome fight scene and shit instead of just making it a kid's fable. Yeah, I think you're right.
But if you're gonna make it a kid's movie, a kid's fable, make it a kid's fable.
Well, and
you know what I mean?
And the thing is that this is actually a tale that was collected by the Brothers Grimm.
Okay.
So, but it wasn't made by them. And this goes all over Europe, by the way, too. So it's interesting to see that, you know, like this is probably even darker tale than what they told. And it's dark-ish. You know, it'd be like a darker version of Disney's like Snow White or something, you know, because the Brothers Grimm always made them really dark. Yeah. And then Disney took them and spun them into fucking like kid shows.
Right.
The director said that he grew up in a Basque community.
Sure.
And wants to continue telling tales of the like folk tales.
Yeah.
So his next film is literally going to be, if he gets the funding, he said, he's like, if this one does well, then yeah, I'm going to do another movie about folktale from where I grew up. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, if you guys like this one and there's more coming, you know,
potentially,
I think it's not as good as something like Alex De La Iglesia, who goes a little bit more buck wild.
Right.
Like The Last Circus is a little more gory and fucked up. So, but you know,
it's worth a view.
Yeah, I think so. And what we'll do now, we'll jump into the last movie, which is Terrified. And, of course, Jason did the work on this. So.
It was funny because he was like, oh, do some work on this movie. And I'm like, sure, okay, I'll go look. I couldn't find a fucking thing on this thing. In fact, so much to the point that on IMDb, the cast doesn't even have their names next to them, so I don't even know who played which character. So
That's crazy.
When I see Ariel Chevalier, I don't know who that is. Like, I don't know if it was this character or that character or anything. Like, their fucking characters' names aren't even next to them. IMDb never does that. So I don't know. I see Demian Rugna wrote and directed it. Which he's done some horror stuff in the writing department, like Death Knows Your Name and The Sinister and Cursed Bastards and stuff. He does like the stories of those. As far as directed, the only things I really could find was, he directed Cursed Bastards, but he also did The Last Getaway, and You Don't Know What or Who You're Talking To. I don't know which ones of these are really horror. I know that the Cursed Bastards one is, but I want to say that You Don't Know Who You're Talking To is like comedy adventure. Yeah, it is. I don't know anything about these movies, but as far as I said, with the credits, it's tough because
I don't blame you, dude. I just realized I looked at it myself. There's not even the characters' names. There's no pictures for the people that were in the movie.
Nothing.
Like
no
nothing.
Pictures,
There's nothing. Yeah,
crazy.
Just little gray silhouette like they do on Facebook for like when you don't have a fucking picture up.
Yeah, it's wild. So I'll read the
top 3 names, whatever.
Okay. Top 3 names that I'll butcher every one of. I already said Ariel Chevalier. I think I got that one right. Maximilian
Gione?
Okay.
Sounds right.
Noberto Gonzalo.
That's good. We're good.
Okay. There you go, guys.
Check mark.
Hugo Halbrecht.
Yeah, it's really sad that because like this is one of those movies. Like I've seen smaller budget movies have way more information, but I guess
couldn't find any trivia. I couldn't find a fucking thing.
Maybe it's a big deal that's even on fucking IMDb, you know what I mean? But this is such a good movie.
I know.
Sorry, I don't want to spoil it too quick, but
I know. So yeah, I mean, as far as like a plot synopsis goes, when strange events occur in a neighborhood in Buenos Aires, a doctor specializing in the paranormal, her colleague, and an ex-police officer decide to investigate further.
Very brief.
Very brief.
Yeah, which is good because,
yeah,
you guys don't want to really know too much going into this movie, I think.
No.
It's one of those.
Yeah. What'd you think, man? I'm curious on your take.
Well, I've never heard anything about this. I saw a random trailer that hardly had any views a long time ago.
Sure.
Just doing a search because I do a lot of searches on YouTube for like trailers, horror trailers, and then I just go down the rabbit hole. But this one, this is a really fucking unique movie in my opinion.
Yeah.
In the sense that it's kind of a supernatural film that doesn't rely on what's lurking about all the time. It's sometimes just like does it outright in the open.
Yeah.
Like right out in the open, no fucking, like
Doesn't
just
hold
whipping
back.
its balls out, waving them around like it doesn't give a fuck about it, which is sometimes a bad thing
Absolutely.
for most films.
This actually nails that.
Yeah, it really
weird.
does.
Yeah.
Like I was kind of blown away by this. I when I got done, this is one of those movies, and when I got done watching it, I had to stand up and pace around kind of thing. Like I do that shit when I watch it because I'm like, first of all, I'm thinking about what I want to say, and then like I write down my thoughts and shit. But this is a suspenseful fucking movie from start to finish, and it doesn't. All this stuff that they do in this movie kind of feels like it's like whatever it is that is in this film, and I don't want to spoil anything. And even if you saw it, it would be hard. You'd be hard pressed to figure out what the fuck really is going on anyway, because they don't spoil anything for you in the story. It's really just a mystery the whole fucking time.
Right.
Unless there's some sort of legend that I don't know about from Argentina, I don't know, but I don't know. I got a little bit of a like vibe that there was something toying with people in a brazen way. And I love that aspect of it because it's so out in the open that like anything goes. It doesn't matter who's in the story. It's going to present itself to you and put you in and bring you to its fucking hell, which is awesome. I love that. In times like some of the creature effects and stuff like that kind of reminded me a little bit like one of the creatures or whatever you want to call it is, I don't want to spoil it, but it kind of reminded me of Cemetery Man or AKA De La Morte De La More. Just the style a little bit. Very loosely, but it just kind of reminded me that the characters in this movie, I think, are really enjoyable. For me, it was the cop. The cop in this movie is not only, he's like the most least experienced person of the happenings that are going on in this movie, because there's technically professionals that you kind of get an idea, have an idea of what's going on and have some sort of like,
understanding,
like a group or something. Like they're not like, all officials that work for the government. They're just like paranormal investigators almost.
Right.
That just have an idea. But his role, the cop's role, has a sympathetic sort of like rationale for the viewer to kind of bounce off of and like flip out, and also kind of in a comedic way a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was like too over the top.
No.
It was really good. It was really well.
Almost zero comedy.
Right. But just his reactions to all the shit that's happening.
Realistic.
I was like, that's how I would be.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Why are you guys acting normal?
Right.
Like, what the fuck is going on right now?
Out of here. Right.
But I don't know. When I watch this movie, it puts everybody through the ringer. Pretty much nobody's off bounds. It's unrelenting. It doesn't stop. It doesn't matter who's involved whatsoever. It just creates this complete sense of, I don't want to say panic, but suspense.
Yeah.
And the atmosphere in this movie is so fucking thick.
Yeah.
And I love it. I don't know what it is, but I don't know if I don't really remember the music too much in this.
No.
It just had one of those more traditional scores where it was like,
it has a couple stingers and
right,
little bit of, but very little music.
like building of that sound and stuff. And I usually pay attention to that, but I was just like locked.
It's almost like white noise, and there's like nothing else. Like it's weird.
Or like that ringing in your ear that you get, like that kind of sound.
Which actually kind of goes to the Funes character.
Right, the cop he's referring to. But to be just a tiny bit critical, and this is just me being critical for the sake of, it wasn't a perfect film.
CGI.
Yeah, like there was some CGI in the film that it didn't bother me really. Like
No.
For being as kind of clunky as it was at certain spots, I kind of was able to look past it because
it should have been a bigger detractor than it was.
Right.
Yeah.
It could have been a bigger detractor if they didn't handle the movie as well as they did. So because there's so many moving parts that there was moments where as soon as I felt a little out of it, like taken out of it, just a little bit thinking about the like how they did it scene, I was brought back into it because it just doesn't stop. It's just one thing after another, and you're just like, holy shit, Jesus Christ.
Never a dull moment.
Right.
No.
And I don't want to make it seem like this is some action-packed, crazy horror movie. It's just a really well-done horror movie that I don't know, it hits all those spots for me. And even though it has like a couple of little glaring flaws, like the scene that I know that you loved and we talked about previously about, I'll explain it in the spoiler sections why it bothered me a little bit.
Okay.
And this is just me being critical again, but I have to be somewhat critical because I love this movie.
Right.
So, but what did you think about it?
You'll be the critical one for me.
Okay.
Oh man. So the good thing is here too, because I'll have a little bit more perspective, I suppose, just because I watched this twice in the last week.
Okay.
I don't do that much anymore. I'm a new film kind of guy. I have too much shit I'm watching for my channel and whatnot that I'm just like, I don't got time to watch anything again. Even you know, my higher ups in the year, which this is very high in my end of the year thing. I haven't watched any of those films twice. But I watched this twice because of this podcast.
Right.
You know, you asked and I was like, fuck, I didn't take any notes. But I'm so glad I watched it a second time because I was actually taken aback so much by the atmosphere and the scariness of it, I suppose.
The first viewing, you're saying?
That I wasn't fully paying attention to everything. I was just like, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is going on here? And so, like, when they were talking, I was just more focusing on, like, background stuff and being like, fucking something's coming, man. I know it. Because it's just this this unsettling feeling of dread the entire film. And so I got the story. Don't get me wrong. I just wasn't fully paying attention to every little thing. And then, you know, when you said, let's do this, I knew what to look for and I knew what was coming. So I didn't have to focus on that as much.
That's good. Yeah.
And so on my second viewing, I had to sit down and I made sure I actually rewound like scenes and like rewrote them down. So I have 2 full pages of fucking notes here on every little goddamn thing. I do think that the name of this film is kind of unfortunate because
Atareros?
No, they're terrified because I think everyone's going to be like, oh, Terrifier? It's like, no, it's not Terrified.
2 people.
Yeah.
Already said that to me.
I was like, no. It's a completely different film. Nothing like Art the Clown. Nothing. No. But yeah, no, man. I knew nothing going in. This was like on Shudder exclusive. I saw it on someone's. Every once in a while, I will go on Google and I'll type in like best horror of 2018, best horror of 2017, whatever year it is. And I'll just go through people's lists and I'll see like, did I miss something? And if I did, I'll look further into it. And this was on someone's list. And I was like, the fuck is that? And I saw it was on Shudder. And I was like, yeah, fuck it. I'm just going to throw it on. We'll see what happens. And within 3 minutes, 2-3 minutes, hooked. I mean, full on like mouth agape. Like, fuck is this? What the fuck is this? Riveted to end credits. Yes, there's some shoddy CGI.
Yeah.
I'm not a CGI hater by any means, but there's some. It's not as bad as like Man Versus.
Yeah, no, I see.
Movie?
Yeah. We watched. I like the concept.
No, yeah. It had me 2/3 of the way filmed. I've never done this before, I don't think, but I watched Man Versus. It was great. It was a great setup. Like 2/3 of the film was this setup. You thought this thing was out there. I thought it was going to turn into Predator.
Yeah.
And then the alien jumps down into frame.
Right.
And it's like the worst CGI
That's
from
what
like
took me
1996 Sci-Fi Channel. And I swear to God, dude, I never do this. The second I saw the monster jump down after the huge buildup and excitement, I stopped the movie and I didn't watch the rest.
Really?
I shut it off immediately. I was like, no, absolutely not. Will I not sit through this? So no. It's not anywhere near that bad.
They were like, I can picture what they were thinking at that moment. They were like, all right, this is going to be the moment. And they pictured it better than it got delivered.
Oh my God. I'm sure, yeah, everyone on the set like watched the movie. You know what I mean? They probably were like, I've worked on this movie and it's really exciting. I want to show it to you. And then they were watching and they got to that part and they were like, oh no, they swore it was going to look better than that.
Well, he said he was good at it. I don't know.
Yeah, right. I found him on Craigslist.
But this is nothing like that. This movie.
No. I'm just trying to point out that like some CGI can turn me off, but for the most part, it's like, whatever. I get where it's used and blah, blah, blah. There's a little here and there. And I can point out every single scene where it's not great.
Right.
But and as we kind of said, it should be a detractor.
Right.
It should be more of a like, oh, that looked bad. But the film is so good around it that you don't give a shit.
Right.
You're like, whatever. Anyway, getting back to this amazing movie, kind of thing. So, yeah, no, the whole time I was absolutely glued to the screen. I thought I would put this in the top 5 best of 2018.
I would have to agree. Like, seriously, guys, this movie gets me excited about the independent horror scene.
Yeah,
like it really, I was just so excited when I saw this. I had no idea that it was going to be this good, and it had no reason to be, but they did so many cool, unique things in it. It's not even anything like another movie I've ever seen. They've actually did so many different things. And I mean, I'm sure that they got you could probably see some influence in it if they told you where they got some of the influence in, but most of it was really unique.
Yeah.
Like, And we'll get into a lot more in the spoilers, which Jason's foaming at the mouth at.
Let's get there already. No. I feel like we're ruining this movie already for people.
Yeah.
They're getting expectations like out of control.
If you like suspense, if you like a little bit of a supernatural element that kind of like makes you question what the fuck is going on, I think if you like those two things, you will get into this movie. The characters are rich. I think they're good characters.
Absolutely.
And I think the cop does the best job out of all of them.
It's not in English.
No.
Let's put that out there.
Oh, yeah. Don't be one of those people.
Yeah. Just so you know, this is a Shudder exclusive. It is the only place that you can watch it. It is nowhere else. You can't rent it, nothing. So Shudder's fantastic. It's worth your $5. This movie's worth a $5 rental.
Yes.
So even if you want to just get Shudder for the month to look around and whatever, this is your excuse. To spend $5 to watch this movie, it's worth $5. I assure you of that. And then you can look around, and there's plenty of other things on there. They have all sorts of exclusives that I've watched recently, like The Witch in the Window,
right?
And tons of others.
They're getting a lot of exclusives. They're becoming the Netflix of horror.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, if you guys, plus they have live events. They're going to be having Joe Bob Briggs on there. And I know I talk about Shudder all the time, and I wish, if you're listening, Shudder, if you would love for us, we could definitely promote you just for a free account. No,
right?
I'll suck your dick
for a light. Yeah. I will suck whatever you put in front of me.
But guys, seriously, like legit, this is a good pickup by Shudder. It's a knockout of the park. It's literally going to be in the top 5. I don't know where it's going to be in the top 5, but of all the movies I've seen this year, I've whittled it down. I haven't seen everything yet. Yeah. There's a few, like the Possum movie that you watched that I really want to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, if you get a chance, watch this as soon as possible. I even think they give you like a fucking week or two of free rental. Free. So you could potentially get to see this for free. So you have no excuse.
None. No, absolutely do it. And Shudder is going to be something you're going to want to have anyways. You got the Greg Nicotero Creep Show.
Right.
Fucking television series there. Who's not excited
Joe
about
Bob Briggs for Thanksgiving and Christmas, by the way.
Yeah. And their library is great too.
Yeah. And I bet you they got it on the cheap too, because I'd never heard of it.
Yeah, no one was talking about it. And this is the sleeper hit of 2018.
Yeah, dude, you guys really need to watch this. Highly recommended. And now we're going to jump into the spoiler section because we got to.
Oh my God, damn.
So
let's order a pizza.
Please don't listen to what we have to say after this moment, because I promise you it will indefinitely ruin your experience of the movie that you should be watching on Shudder for free. Anyway, we're always going to be here when you want to come back. So just come back, and then we can ruin everything for you after you've seen it. But trust me, watch it first, okay? This is your warning.
Yeah, warning. I'm getting another one.
So, obviously, there's no trivia. You said that. No. So, we're pretty much just going to go through let's just, first, I don't want to ruin it right out the bat. I want to give it a little bit of air just till the people like go, oh, they're talking
really
about it. Yeah. But talk about that scene, the scene that you told me that you loved right off the bat.
Sure. As I said, this film kind of just comes right out the gate swinging on me. I love the atmosphere that has built just in the very opening of the film. It's very subtle. It's very small. There's this girl, and she's just sitting there. She's doing dishes, and she just starts to hear a low voice that we can't even really hear coming from the sink. And I think that plays into the film a lot,
right?
Because of the water and all that. We'll get to that. But as then it moves on to the husband comes home and they're talking, and she's like, I heard a voice. It said it wanted to kill me. And then it's like terrified. And it's like, okay, like atmosphere was built at that point. And then he starts hearing the knocking on the wall. He thinks it's the neighbor after she goes to the bathroom. He goes over there, hears some fucking weird voices coming from this little speaker box. And he goes into and then he goes back into the house and he hears the banging more, and he's just like, that's not my neighbor. And he goes in, and like, this is a total, like, I know there will be some comparisons here, and I completely understand it, but I thought it was different enough that it was its own thing. I know people maybe compare this to the Tina scene in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, okay. Yeah, totally. I could see that.
But when he walks in, because yeah, he's the Rod, she's the Tina. He comes in like, what the fuck is going on? But like, when he walks in and she is just being thrown back and forth, and it's so violent too. That's what's so great about it. It's how hard her face is hitting and the way it looks, and her body's levitating, and there's just, there's no moment where you would even be like, okay, maybe this is happening. Like, you couldn't even get your mind to, for 1 second, be like, well, maybe it's not how I think it is.
Right.
You know, like, oh, maybe I'm seeing this from the wrong angle. No. Like, this is absolutely, all of a sudden, you are now a believer in the paranormal. What the fuck is happening? I don't know what's happening. And it's just the emotion of the scene. This is his wife. They clearly have a great relationship. She's being smashed back and forth. There's so much blood. Because you got to think, like, this has been going on for like 5 minutes.
Right.
Because he hears it. It wakes him up.
You can hear it outside, I think, even. Like
a little bit.
Very like
faint.
in the background.
Because she's getting so violently smashed back and forth, like a little pinball machine.
On the bathroom walls, yeah.
And there's just blood everywhere when he walks in, like on the walls. And it's the first thing you see when he opens the door is just blood.
Right.
And you're like, oh shit, whatever was happening for the last 5 minutes has been happening in this room the whole time. You're like, what is it? I don't know. It was the way her body was being thrown back and forth, the way it looked. It just was frightening. It was so terrified. I was terrified.
Well, and he's even trying to hold her to keep her from doing it, and
That's
it's just
so
yanking
sad.
her out of his hands. And you see her like, okay, see, here's my problem with that scene in particular. I think that they showed it too quick. I know why they did it, and I understand why they chose to show her floating back and forth. But I feel like if they would have just showed one side of the wall with the blood and slowly pan the camera just a little to the left while they were shooting this, and then seeing her face hit the wall back and just on one side of the wall and then revealed, it would have just, see, this is me being picky.
Sure.
But I'm being picky because it's really hard for me not to be picky, but just that, for whatever reason, I think it was too quick of a reveal to me. But this movie kind of does that with this, with their lore. They just kind of throw you into it.
Out there.
Right.
I think the reason that this works for me is because I think what you're saying is more for the audience. It's more of an aesthetics choice of like, oh, well, if we show it like this, well, maybe she's just banging her head. And then it's revealed, oh my God, she's levitating.
Right.
Like that would be double shock.
Right.
Like it's the first shock of like, oh my God, it's her banging her head into the wall. And then it pans back and it's like, oh no, it's something else that's levitating into the room.
Right.
But I get where you're coming from a viewer's standpoint. But I think in the moment why that worked for me is because that's how he's seeing it.
Right.
We're seeing it through his eyes. Like,
good point.
He didn't come in and see it banging and then go, what am I looking at? No, he's walking into something that's so startling to his mind, to his beliefs, to his understanding of how the world works, that he's so shocked in that moment, he can't even, because I think that if he would have walked in, it would have been a slower build. It would have been like, what is she doing? Oh my God, are you okay? It's that shock, that instant, like all of his prior beliefs have now been shattered. To the point that he is shaken to his core. He doesn't even know how to respond. And when he goes to try to stop it from happening, he can't.
Well,
this thing is so strong that he's like, he throws himself down and he's like, what the fuck do I do? And he yells out, what the fuck is going on?
Right. I mean, that's a definitely good point. Maybe they could have done something. I felt like it laid its balls out too quick for me. And I mean, the CGI that they did there, because they used a rope, it was like she was just hanging, and she was legitimately hitting the wall, guys.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, kudos to her. And then you see her face and everything like that. But maybe if they would have shown her hitting the wall through the crack of the door or something like that, maybe. I don't know. I think the initial shock, what you're saying makes perfect sense. But for whatever reason, it just took me out a little tiny bit just at that moment. It wasn't as shocking as I wanted it to be, because what they do well in this movie is the suspense. These guys, whoever did this movie, whoever worked on this, I maybe I'm speaking too soon, but I think they're masters at suspense.
Absolutely.
They really have a fucking commanding presence to this.
Yeah.
Just being able to put it out there in the open, because it is a good scene, but just doing that out in the open and then having some sort of this play, all the way up to that moment. That is amazing. What they did right there is so perfect. Leading up to it, him going outside, it's like a misdirection thing. And then still building that suspense, what the fuck? So anyway,
your opening in a movie like this should be able to stand on its own as a short film.
Right.
That's how I feel. I always feel like a movie like this if you cut it off right there when he yells out what the fuck is going on, credits roll, you'd be like, that was fucking one of the best short films I ever watched. It's such a great introduction to your horror movie of like, wow, that was memorable. It's like, even though I'm not a Scream fan, that opening with Drew Barrymore would have been a fucking amazing short.
Right.
Just incredible. It's the best part of the Scream franchise, in my opinion. But this film does that so well. It really brings you into it, but it doesn't, what a lot of films do, not wrong, but something that this film does the opposite of is usually what happens is the film will start heavy. Like a lot of films will come in heavy, and they'll do that start opening like a Halloween did. Where it's like, they kill the sister, whatever. And then it just like goes back and it slows everything down, and then it starts building again from there. Right. And this film just does not do that.
Yeah.
It starts heavy and it stays that way throughout the whole fucking film.
Yeah.
Like we move straight from them right to the neighbor.
Right.
Who's already, because this jumps around in time a little bit.
Right.
Like he's recanting his story, from what maybe had happened to his knowledge here, and then we go over.
Well, you meet the
Walter's
officers
character.
And stuff, and that, whoever that guy is.
Right,
but
when they're interviewing him, but then it jumps to Walter, the neighbor, which is like a couple weeks previous to this, because they're talking about the kid who got hit by the car and everything.
Right.
And so when they, when that happens, Walter has already have seen the ghost. He's already lost his mind. This isn't Paranormal Activity where you're spending half the movie of them getting a camera, finding out that the ghost is there, things slowly start to happen. No, he's already in the fucking thick of it when we meet him. The next character. That almost never happens.
Yeah,
almost every film that you have that strong opening of the people who are at the tail end of their story. Then they die. Then it moves into the next victim.
Yeah, now we gotta tell the story.
Yeah, now we're gonna give you the story, which they do, but they do from a perspective of somebody who's already deep into it.
Right.
And then someone who's new to it coming in, which is Detective Funes.
Yeah.
He's like us. He's the character that's like, what does this mean? Who's that? But he's not an idiot about it.
No.
But he's there to explore this from people who are already deep into it. So there's never downtime. There's never these moments, but it doesn't move past character development either.
No.
Where it's like it just streamlines straight to the nonsense. No, it builds great characters as well in it, but it never lets up because it never goes to that time where there's slow builds.
Yeah.
Like right when we move to Walter's character, he's already at the end of his movie.
Yeah.
Like if Walter had his own movie, we would be in the last act of his movie in the opening of his scene, which should be the opening of this movie.
Right. You're right. Yeah, that's a good point.
So that's what I think makes this movie have such an incredible pace that you just don't see very often.
It doesn't. And the other thing that I really like about it that they do in this movie, that Walter scene is really good. They lay it out pretty strong that, hey, if you hide under the covers, you're still fucked. It doesn't matter what the fuck is going to happen.
No. Yeah.
It's still going to be happening, and no matter what you do to try to turn it off, it's still going to be there,
right.
And you're fucked either way. So, and personally, I didn't think the creature was necessarily scary, but if I were in that position, clearly I would be out of my mind.
Of course.
But the techniques and stuff that they did in that, like just going under the covers with him in that scene was really cool. We're just seeing the legs running around and shit like that.
Right.
Really fucking cool.
Right.
But then, so they're telling the story, like you said in the beginning. Then you find out the kid part, right? Because they lead up to the kid.
Yeah, he gets hit by the bus.
Right. Because Walter's losing his mind in the house. He's been trying to reach out to some of the characters that are in this movie who are like a paranormal investigation team or something, and he needs help and he's going crazy.
Right.
And it's been 2 weeks later, and then his neighbor dies. He's disappeared. Or no, this is right before the woman dies that's getting slammed against the walls, right?
That happened before this.
Right.
Correct.
There was a kid that kicked his ball into his yard.
Right. And he's trying to get a hold of Albrook, and so he can talk to her about this. He's trying to figure out what the fuck is going on there, and he's trying to get more meds because they're not working for him. And, they're like, oh, we'll call you back. And then, of course, he disappears. And so she shows up, and, of course, the happenings have happened across the street with the kid.
Right.
Who now is turned back up from the dead.
Dude, when that bus, the scene where the kid kicks the ball into Walter's yard, drinks out of the water fountain, just the whole dance up into that, and then he's like, hey, get out of my lawn, you're not allowed to be here. Right. And then the kid's scared out of his mind, backing up bam, just hits by a bus, and I was like, holy shit.
And doesn't cut. It's not a fucking cutaway.
No,
you see a bus obliterate a child.
Yeah.
Fucking throws him, dude.
I mean, I hate to rejoice in a situation like that, and I'm sure it's kind of like weird for you being a parent as well.
You just don't see it enough, so yeah.
Yeah, it's good that they had the balls to do that.
Yeah, it looks great, man. He's just boom, man. He gets just absolutely annihilated. Reminds me of Insidious 3.
Right? Yeah, I guess you're right. Kind of. Yeah.
She gets hit by the car. Spoilers. But yeah, so yeah, he gets hit, and then that's when we move into Funes coming, and he calls up Wano, the medical examiner that he'd worked with for 20 years, and he's like, I need your ass down here. I need your opinion. Like, because Wano had previous, moments where he had seen some unexplainable shit.
That's
people
right.
Would come back from the dead on his table, a man who'd been dead for days, and
stood up and talked to him,
a woman
or something.
who'd taken 14 bullets to the head, and they opened their eyes. And he's just like, he believed in the paranormal, but could never, and he went to paranormal seminars and whatnot, and that's where he knew of Albrook, and her and Rosentalk, her other colleague who comes in on this. She's coming over to investigate Walter's house, and that's when Wano recognizes her. And
right.
As a coincidence of oh shit, what are you doing here? And I need your help. Come on over here, take some photographs. Let's talk about this. But when he walks in, man, and cause yeah, Walter's stuff is cool. Definitely. They got a little bit of conjuring going on here where the one goes into the armoire.
Yeah.
And then she opens it up and there's nothing in the armoire when they're playing the fucking, clap game. In there. It's very similar to that.
Well, he sets up a video camera to capture this thing, right. And that's the funny thing is, in a normal movie,
he wouldn't have anything on film.
You wouldn't have anything on film. You would see something small and tiny, and it would just oh shit, the door's open, but nothing came out, and then something moved on the shelf. But no, this is just straight up showing you.
Yeah, shows you everything. Does not hold back for 1 second. I love that about this movie.
Yeah, which is so weird. Like I said before, any movie that tries to do that,
it's too much.
It's too much, and they've already lost it. But this film just is fuck, just wait.
Yeah, fuck conventions.
Yeah.
No, for sure. They kind of throw the rule book out the window.
Yeah.
And somehow it lands.
I don't know how they did it. I feel like if they did another movie, it wouldn't even work.
No.
I hope it would, but I'm just saying, really?
Terrified 2.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, that would.
They totally could do a sequel, that's for sure.
They could, but yeah, I mean, we've seen so much now. Because, yeah, that's the rule of horror is once you've seen the monster, you have 5 minutes to close it out because then it starts to become fatigue. I think it's because the film is ever changing.
Right.
It's like almost an anthology in a way where the monster that we see in okay, for instance, the opening is this woman being smashed in the wall. So she's being, taken over by a poltergeist.
Right.
Then the second thing we see is when Walter is being attacked by a fucking demon that looks like something out of maybe The Descent or something. And then it moves into a dead kid at a kitchen table.
Which I love that part, dude.
That's one of the most fucking scary things I've seen in a film in a while. And if I was texting my brother and I'm like, dude, I think they used a real dead kid.
Yeah, it looks so good.
So real. It was fucking terrifying. The look of the child looked like a dead kid was dug up from a grave and thrown to be fucking posed.
I mean, I'm no fucking I've never done any autopsies or anything, but
right. I haven't done this to confirm.
It is a really good looking dead kid. Let me just tell you.
Of all the dead kids I've seen, it's one of the better ones. Of all the ones in my basement at the moment, I can tell you, I can confirm.
This is the number one. Yeah, that's where I got the Michele Soavi.
Yeah, I don't know how to say his name.
That's his name. Dylan actually, Dylan Clancy. He said, "I hope I don't sound like a dick," but he's like, "It's Michele Soavi."
Yeah, from Errementari, man.
Yeah, but that's why I got that feeling because the dead in that movie look very similar to this kid in a way, only not as putrid.
And he's not on a fucking dirt bike.
Right.
Coming up out of a grave.
Yeah, that was pretty... But that's where we got the dead kid milk scene. But it's he's covered in dirt. He's sitting at the kitchen table. He literally walks to the front door and she sees him at the front door. And I'm thinking in my head, they're not going to show him, right? This is going to carry on into some weird thing. Next scene you see... is they've skipped over the part where the kid meets the mom, and now it's like one of the Funes, yeah. No, the older guy that was a detective who's working with the police officer. When they go into the room, he's like, okay, now just be prepared.
Oh, the guy who's at the table at the very end?
The guy with the eyes at the very end.
Yeah, that's Wano.
No. The white-haired old man.
That's what I'm saying. That's Wano.
Wano's the guy that went in with Funes in in Walter's room.
That's Rosenthal.
I thought
the guy who goes across and gets Albrook, the chick across the street.
I thought Wano's
the guy who loses his eyeballs and whatever.
Wano's is the examiner, right? He's the guy that goes into Walter's room with Funes.
Yeah, the same guy.
Yeah, and the other guy that was in the house with the woman with the dead kid, though, is...
I don't know what other guy.
He's like balding, white-haired old man who Funes is like, I am losing my mind right now. He's like, don't turn off the lights. I don't want you to turn off the lights ever again.
Yeah, that's Rosenthal.
Oh, that's what I was saying. Rosenthal.
Yeah, Rosenthal is the other doctor that's with Albrook. That's her colleague. That's who she brings in to help them. But he's not in the kid's house until
I just don't know what
they bring her on.
What is he? He's just like a friend of hers that
they're a team.
Yeah.
They investigate together.
Right.
He's there. They needed a person in each of the 3 houses.
Right. Okay.
Because they're trying to investigate each of the houses all on the same night and like kind of radio cross to each other. But Rosenthal doesn't come into the movie until after they get Albrecht to sign over, like they're going to start staying there at the house. Because remember, they have to go and talk to Mr. Blumedi and get him to sign over the right that they can stay in his house after. And that's when Rosenthal comes into the movie.
Right, okay. That's another thing I really liked. But that kid scene, though, man, at the table.
Oh, my God.
Them and the conversation that they're having is so Tarantino-esque in a way.
Yeah.
But not in a silly fashion, but still, like, everything that they say is really important.
Absolutely.
And everything that's going on is just, it's the best example I could give. It's like having a dead kid in the room and trying to have a conversation about some normal life.
Right.
It's that whole idea. Like,
let's not talk about the big elephant in the room.
Yeah, dude. And then the kid knocks over the glass of milk when the lights are off, and that's when you kind of get an idea.
And when he looks over at him, too, it looks like the kid wasn't looking at him, and then he was.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're like,
toying with him.
When he looks at him and he looks back, and it's like a close-up of this kid's face, and it looks like he's staring right at him. Usually in a movie, it would be like loud noise, and he'd jump back and whatever, and it's like, he's just like, was he like that? I don't know, the way that they downplay certain things and then overplay other things, great. But then the other kid
gets in. I thought he was stealing toys.
No, he comes to reclaim his own old toys. And he goes, and then you're thinking like, oh, he's just going to see the kid. And then the kid just turns his head and the eyeball turns with it.
Yeah.
And it's so fucking eerie.
And the kid's still staring at him in this moment. That was so good.
So good.
And then you hear this kid scream, I guess.
Yeah.
But.
Well, we also, we don't know, but that kid ran off, I guess. But we also never really explore the fact that this kid walked up the wall.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Yeah, that's right. They had footprints and handprints all over the ceiling, and that was weird.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. I don't know if he like why did he walk up the wall in his fucking yard to then enter the house to make himself a bowl of cereal?
I think it was just a technique to try to make you feel like there is something way more going on.
A dead kid who walked himself from the grave is pretty fucking out there.
Right. But then on top of it,
to
see little fucking cartoonish footprints on the ceiling and on the wall.
Because I don't think anything else in this movie walks on the walls or anything.
No, they don't show anything.
We don't see anything like that. So that's why I was like, it's not really fitting of anything else in this film.
But see, The Void did stuff like that too. They had like weird little obligatory things that didn't make sense. I'm not saying
it's wrong. It's just, it was weird to me that it was introduced and then never explored.
Right.
It was just like, well, we know he walked on the wall. Maybe they tried some test shots of it and they were like, that looks too stupid.
You might be right.
We're going to keep that out of the movie. We'll just show the footprints. Because we don't get to see him enter the house. He's just there. And I do like that they bring up, because this is the first thing you would think. It's like, did the mom in a grieving moment go and dig this kid up?
Right.
Like,
Makes sense.
And stage him. And I was like, oh, thank you for mentioning that, because that would be absolutely, you need to address that. That's fucking the first thing I would think. Like, okay, she's nuts.
Well, and the guy that's like actually into the paranormal and all this other stuff is the one pushing that idea. And it's the cop who's actually saying, I don't know.
Yeah, they both kind of are in agreement. He's like, oh, can you run these tests? And he's like, you're hesitant. And he's like, I am. And he's like, you don't think this is what it is, do you? And he's like, you think, there's something more sinister at play here.
Right.
It's just like, yeah, I do. Like, I don't think it's going to come back right. Like, they're both believers pretty much from the get-go. And I like how the cops are just, like, wanting to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
They're like, just let me out of here. I don't want to be in this building. Can we go? The cops are like, can we leave? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, let's get the fuck out of here.
Dude, everybody but Fune. Well, everybody that the professionals that are there, the Janos and the old lady, I can't think of her name. Albrook. And then Rottenbach.
Rosenstock.
Rosenstock.
That's okay. I watched it twice.
I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, I didn't catch all that.
It's okay.
But, and they didn't even have it on IMDb. But yeah, like their demeanor during all of this that's going on is so normal. It's kind of upsetting as a viewer. You're like,
because they deal with death all the time.
Yeah,
they're so used to it.
Right, exactly. Right. And they're like, nothing shocking. And even Janos is so excited at one point where he's like, check this out.
Yeah.
You can't see him under the bed, right?
Right.
And then he goes around to the other side and it's like this long draw. Yeah. And then he's like, look, and you see his little feet moving around underneath. I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like,
right.
And Fumes is like, nah, I'm done.
Not to be the dick, but that was Rosenthal.
I thought that his name is Janos. I swear to God, his name is Janos. I swear to God, that's
no. When he shows, like, he's like, look, there's nothing there, and then he walks him around to the other side, and he sees the feet. That's Rosenthal. Yeah, because they see nothing under the bed this way, and then when they walk around to the other side, there's feet that are hanging out.
Right. Wano walks around to the other side of the.
He's like, oh yeah.
Dude, the excitement on his face.
Who it is, but
the excitement on his face was like so kid happy. Joy, and like I was like, no. That's not something I would be excited about. Like, why are you being so excited about this?
No, to my memory, Wano he's only in that house, the other house, the whole time, and then he gets stuck in the armoire or the desk or whatever. And
the thing under the bed was definitely, I don't know, that might be the old man, right? You might be right about that, but I'm pretty sure he stays in that room the whole fucking time.
Yeah, they're all, whatever house they're in is the house they're in the whole time.
Right.
Like,
well, except for
Fumans. Albrook's over here, and then, Rosentalk's over here, and then Wano's over here, and then Funes moves back and forth to each house. He's the only one who moves throughout the houses. They're all in 3 different houses. But anyway, yeah. So, so then, I mean, you think like, oh, they're going to slow down. They're going to fucking try to explain this and that. No, they're actually explaining things while scary shit's happening. Oh, no. Here.
Yeah. No, they definitely are. And it's so drip fed perfectly. I don't know how to explain it. And then they add something else that fucks up. Like when he calls Funes over at where Wano and him are at Walter's house. Right. And he's like, there's something weird going on. And you see an old dead man from one pane of the window to the other. I was like, that's so cool.
Well, yeah. I mean, that kind of speaks to my own personal beliefs. I don't really have like any like stick beliefs of anything, but one thing that I've always thought when people are like, what do you think about paranormal and ghosts and whatnot? And I'm like, if ghosts exist, which I'm not sure they do or they don't, I don't really care, honestly, but like, I don't really think they do. I think what happens is that there are different dimensions.
Right.
And
okay.
There is moments where we get glimpses into them. They're not ghosts. They're just people that exist in a different dimension than you do. And in their world, you're the ghost.
Right.
Like you're haunting their house in their world.
Like the others.
Right.
Yeah.
And so in this movie, I love that that's explored, that they take it from like that lightness, like light and dark exist in the same place at the same time, but are in different dimensions from one another.
Right.
And that they can be seen from different angles. because this way they're in our dimension, and this way, because that's how dimensions works. This is like a fourth dimension. This is because we can't see things. If you can watch fucking Neil deGrasse Tyson, or you can actually, a really great one is Carl Sagan explaining dimensions. It's a great video if you ever get
I actually have seen all of that stuff.
Oh, there you go. He explains how we wouldn't be able to see the fourth dimension because we can't see the angle. We have no perception of the fourth angle that would bring a fourth dimension into play here.
Right. Okay.
And so that kind of plays to that, where like you can look at it like this and you see them, and then you can look at it like this and you can't see them. And I love that that's here. But one thing that I gained on my second viewing that I just didn't pick up on my first viewing, because as I said, I was more into the scariness of all of it and all that stuff, is I didn't really connect too much with what was going on with the mother and his relationship with her. Like, I knew they dated, but I didn't really get what was all going on there, and I didn't really catch a lot of the stuff with the microbes in the water and how that transferred and all that stuff. Like that,
she did mention it. I remember that. Yeah,
that's how I really paid
Don't drink the tap water.
Yeah, it's the tap water is what's fucked up, because that's when the kid gets hit by the bus. As soon as he drinks from the tap water, he's killed.
Right. That's right.
Right. So it's a theme throughout the movie, is the water is what's taking this. And then the reason that he kind of be able to go back into it, and it's a quick scene, and I didn't catch it in my first because I wasn't even paying attention to the whole water connection. But in this version I watched, this time that I watched it, I noticed that the way that he gets down in there is there's a guy who's out there and he's cleaning the blood up. He's one of the police workers or whatever, and he's spraying the water, and the kid's blood's running down into the sewers, which is where she's hearing the voices come from. Oh. So his blood is getting down into the water, and it's connecting with the microbes. Then it's going and it's sinking into the fucking, the grave. That's how they're able to possess his body.
Okay.
So I connected it way more on this viewing of like, okay, so the water is the bridge between dimensions, and there's these microbes that live in the water that's able to transcend both sides of it.
Okay.
And so they're able to go through the water and possess. And that's how when he drinks the water is kind of when he takes it in.
Well, the other thing is that the woman, Albrook, she actually was like looking through the crack in the wall and sees Walter in some sort of perceptive angle or whatever, that she sees him, and he's got green eyes and he's like behind the wall kind of seething and looking at her, and they're having a conversation even right before somebody else, Funes, walks back in.
I didn't realize that was Walter the first time I watched it.
Yeah. And then you see like this creature walks through the crack in the wall and just grabs her head and snaps it back.
Yeah.
And she falls on the floor, and then Funes is having a fucking heart attack at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. And that scene's really intense too.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, they don't like he doesn't even say that he's having a heart attack. You don't even know. He's just so fucking panicked.
Yeah.
Like, I thought he was just scared at first, and then I was like, oh shit, he's actually having a heart attack.
Yeah, he mentions it
later. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And then,
I'm like, he's having a panic attack.
And then it's like crawling around on him and like staring at him and looking at him and like observing him like some sort of organism or something. And like, it was pretty creepy. And then he gets out. As soon as he gets in, he's like, I need you to take me to the hospital, to the woman.
Alicia comes in, and she's like, and this is what I'm saying. That was where I got a much broader spectrum of what was going on with her character, because I didn't fully understand the weight of all of that. Like, the kid comes over, jumps the wall, sees the kid. So then he goes home and he grabs his camera because he wants to get proof of this. So the kid then jumps back over the wall, and he has a camera, and he films Wano and Funes taking the kid and throwing him in the refrigerator because they don't know what the fuck else to do with him. And then they throw something up on there, and then the mom, which they injected with liquid Valium to put her out so that she wouldn't remember any of this. She wouldn't be awake for the trauma of taking the kid out. And they tell her like, no, it's not a big thing. But she finds out from the video that they clearly think something's up. And so she then finds and gathers and goes and digs her kid up and finds that this thing's been covered in concrete.
Right.
Clearly for a reason, because they don't want him to get out again. And she's like, how could you fucking steal my kid from me? He tried to return to me, and you made me feel like I was a crazy person. I'm supposed to trust you. We used to date. We were romantically involved for years. And here I am. I trusted you to tell me what was going on. And she finds out that her kid was actually moving, that it did actually come
right.
home. It had like something to tide you over.
And you throw him in a box and then puts concrete over it. Yeah, that was so funny too when he said, "Can I get 2 bags of concrete?"
Right.
And I was like, "Oh, that's kind of dark a little bit."
We got to bury this motherfucker and make sure he stays down. I love that he has like, clawing marks on his fingers from trying to bring himself out of there.
Little details like that. It was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was a little weird.
Are soaking wet.
Right, dripping.
Dripping wet because of the water. But yeah, no. So then she comes in and he's like, can you help? He's very active for someone having a heart attack.
Yeah.
He goes off and smokes a cigarette. That's what you want to do when you have a heart attack, people. Go grab a cigarette. That'll make you recover. He runs around and does a lot for someone having a heart attack. It's like, if he is having a heart attack, that's a fucking stretch that he's able to do all that he's able to do. You can't really move around when you're having a heart attack.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, it was a little unbelievable there, but
and he's near death.
But all these little events that happen, like he's having a heart attack, the thing crawls over him, then she walks in to save him, and you think it's like, okay, a breath of fresh air. I'm able to breathe now. The tension subsiding. No, she gets in the car. The dead kid's there, and he's like, "Fuck that! I'm not getting in that car." No. And he's like, "I'll drive myself," which is totally ridiculous. Yeah. If you're having a heart attack, you're gonna fucking crash if you even able to get in the car. And then he starts the car, and who comes running out but Albrook?
Yes,
with the broken neck, looking like something out of The Thing.
In the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah, there you that too. Yeah,
fucking Styles.
I don't even know what she said, but yeah,
neck backwards.
Dude, that was creepy as fuck. And then he's just panicking. He's like, "I'm driving away." Man, dude, just like all those beats, man. Like it's like unrelenting, unapologetic, like
beats you over the head with it.
Yeah, it's like, fuck, dude.
But in a good way.
I think, and that's what I loved about it. I'm like, dude, Jesus Christ, I don't even get a breath in this movie. Like,
and also, I mean, to point out that he is near death, and when he turns down and he turns off of his hearing aid, he actually is able to hear them clearer. So they're speaking on a wavelength that's so low, and he probably, being someone who's lost so much hearing, he probably only can hear certain levels. Because like when you start to lose your hearing, you start to lose lows, you start to lose highs, and somewhere in the middle of what he has left, he's able to decipher it better than they are. And so he hears the voices clearer when he takes his fucking earpiece out. So that was interesting too, because he's like, because of his, defect or whatever you want to call it, his disability, he's able to actually hone in on them better than someone who would have better hearing. Because you would hear so much white noise, so much other background that you wouldn't be able to key in on whatever frequency they were coming in at. And whatever.
I didn't think about that. Mm-hmm. But I do remember him having a hearing aid, and I'm probably going to have to watch this again. Yeah. Which I don't mind at all, because I'm ready to watch that again.
Because you see when he takes it off and he turns it down and he takes it off, that's when he starts to hear the voices coming. He hears the things much clearer when he can't really hear.
That's right.
Because there's no background noise anymore. It's all just focused. And I thought that was cool, because that plays with dimensions, and that plays with different levels of frequencies and where they would be, kind of coming from. So I thought that was neat. I didn't really care for, and CGI, yeah, there's some CGI stuff in here, and I didn't really care for Wano's character when he rips open the dresser that he's in, and you see his face, and it's clearly like composited in there. It just didn't look good.
Yeah, it looked a little funky.
It looked really off. Although his eyes at the end were weird. They weren't like, because he said he like stuck glass shards into them, but they weren't like that. They were like full over and like
bug eyes or something.
Yeah, orange. Yeah, like neon.
They were like glowing and pulsating, like with light almost.
Yeah, it was weird. It was interesting.
Yeah, it was almost like we were in. I get a mix of like the Stranger Things, Creature Dimension thing. Yeah. I also get like that one movie where that guy who died and made that movie before he passed away.
The Evil Within.
I get a little vibe of that at times, but it's definitely not borrowing from anything that I can think of. And I mean, maybe, but I love the fact that just there's so many things in this film that are really unique. One of them is that 3 people split up, or 3 groups: Albrook, Wanas, Funes go into a room. So, but they show them all entering at the same time. Everything is bouncing between all of these three houses. So it's like there's so much going on at one time. For the viewer, you're going to get like thrown sideways with this shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. And if you're listening now, and I hope you didn't spoil it for yourself because we fucking ruined it for you if you did. Is there much more to really say other than that?
I guess here, at the end, we move in because he goes down to burn down the house, and he comes back. He throws the gas all over the house. I don't know why the gas is blue.
Petrol.
Is that what it looks like? Is it blue? Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know. I was going to ask you. Do you know? I don't.
Yeah,
know.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go. So yeah, he douses it because we didn't even talk about something else really fucking sad in this movie. He comes back and the mom is there and she hung herself, and it's like, oh. So heartbreaking and it's really cool too because when he walks in the house very like quick, he walks right past her, and if you blink and you miss it, but she's hanging in the background. What the fuck was that? Wasn't that somebody hanging? And then you're like, what was that? And then he comes back and then he looks up and he sees her and he's like, I love that kind of stuff. I love little glimpses of like what's to come, and then you like walk away. I love background hangings too. For some reason, like the one in The Visit.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
What the fuck? When just someone's hanging in the background is just fucking gnarly. But it's so sad. Like, she was such a broken woman. Like not weeks ago, her life was totally normal. Then her head gets hit by a bus. She's trying to deal with that.
And she was a police officer, right? She was his partner.
I know they were romantically involved.
Yeah, but they said partner quite a few times.
But I don't know if that was just a bad
mistranslation. Yeah.
Like they were boyfriend girlfriend. Maybe I missed that one. Maybe that will come up on the third view. I don't know. I didn't see that.
In 1 week, huh?
Maybe I'm wrong. No, I won't be watching this again for years. But hopefully
years. Fuck that! I'll watch this every year, and I really hope that Shudder, if you're listening, please put this out on Blu-ray. Please, whatever you do, if it's not already out, like please give it to us like that.
Update IMDb.
Like I really don't. I'll pay for your service anyway, but please give me the fucking Blu-ray. I like to collect. If the world gets shut down tomorrow and we have no internet, I still have that movie. That's right. The way I look at it.
But yeah, so they go in and they have, they go back to talk to Blumetti after this because he goes down to burn down the house.
That's right.
And he's missing somehow, like, because you think he's beat him, but now he's just a fugitive because they think that he killed everyone and burned down the house with them in it and to try to cover up the evidence of all the people he murdered.
Right.
Because that's how they come at Blumetti. And Blumetti's sitting in there having not killed his wife, having to be in prison. It's been a year later now. He's been in prison for well over a year. They told him they were going to get him out. He had all this hope. And then he comes back and it's like, nope, sorry, you're staying in here, you wife murderer. Yeah. And then he comes back and he's like, oh, well, now Funes, who you knew supposedly killed all these people. And I love the whole ending where he's like, who's that?
Yeah, who's that guy? Did you bring it with you?
And then he brings the picture and he's like, oh, it's fucking Rosenstock. He's like, yeah, he followed you here. And I'm not really huge on the chair being thrown at the screen.
A little cheesy.
A little stupid.
But
not a great ender, but still fucking great, man. Just to think that like he didn't get away with, like he didn't save the day.
Right.
Not to our knowledge, because he disappeared. He didn't die. He's having a heart attack. Because when the house is burning, the fucking, Wano is there with his eyes bugging out. And he's looking at him, and then he looks at him, he looks at the house, and he looks at him, and then it cuts, and we don't see them ever again. And then it just says a year later, and he's missing. And it's like, we're looking for him. He's a fugitive. He's wanted for these murders. And then they're like, they don't believe in anything. And he's like, their ghost is there with you. And then they get to find out, like, it's like, it just keeps filtering in new people to find out about this so that they can go off and die. And then
pretty much, no one's safe. You should be terrified. Yeah. But yeah, man, I think overall though, like, I mean, if you had to give it a score, what would you say?
9.5.
Yeah, that's probably where I'm at too.
Yeah. Just some shoddy CGI here and there.
But they did what they could, and you could tell that this movie, it was a low budget, but it wasn't it wasn't like, oh yeah, these are shitty actors or anything like that.
No, everyone was very good in their
Yeah, like you could tell they like really gave a shit about every fucking part in that movie, and just I don't know, man. This is a wild ride. I'm so glad I watched this. I'm so glad we got to talk about it because it's going to be a contender for top 5 in that.
Absolutely.
I don't know what it's going to be, what place it is, but
it's there.
Yeah, it's definitely there for me. So,
and I've said this before, even if it was number 1 right now, I would love for 5 films to come along this year that are better.
Right.
Fuck it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Worst case scenario, I just watched 6 amazing movies. So
yeah. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be watching all of the ones that I picked.
Yeah, top 5.
And watch them again.
Yeah.
I'll probably spread them out so I don't saturate
too much
my thoughts about things too much. Just do one a day, and then figure it out. So if you guys have seen this, I mean, what do you guys think? Let us know what you think. Yay or nay? Did you enjoy it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? If you hate it, you're dead to me.
Yeah, just unsubscribe and come subscribe to my channel.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I'm really glad you came on. I think this was a good show, man. Yeah, we had a lot to say, huh?
Yeah, we sure did. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. And guys, next week we'll be back. We will have somebody else on at the very least, so just tune in on Monday. But other than that, guys, hope you have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you soon.
Listening to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. Tune in every Monday